Welcome back, Call of Duty fans. I'm Alan IHOLDSHIFT down at Frio. You're you, and this is another little quick snippet video hitting at some of the substitution drama that's happened over the last couple of days, and then getting you geared up and ready to go with the schedule reveal of our first week of games for the CWL Pro League. Could not be more excited, not only because the games have been released, but I've got a whole new, brand new graphical package for you guys, and I gotta say I'm really happy with this one. It looks really good. Just a little bit of an inkling of what this is gonna look like. There's a lot of things that coming down the line, but I'm really excited about it, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. I actually can't wait to edit this video. But let's get into some of the drama. And before we talk about some of the substitution moves and where the subs are currently for every single team for you, I just want to hit one more thing that I'm just not quite at ease with. And it's this whole bringing in a sixth man as a substitute, but then immediately putting them onto your main roster as a starting five. I get it, like, to a certain extent. Like, G2 and FaZe both have very talented rosters that, for one reason or another, we don't need to go into the details of it, they just didn't make the Pro League qualifiers. And you have teams that were not expected to go through, they did go through. Now, it could be one thing that, you know, some players didn't perform as well in these teams, or the new 5v5 is throwing some of these core teams off when it comes down to what their roster actually looks like. But the fact of the matter is, the teams that made it to the Pro League qualifier, I honestly believe deserve to be there. So when you're dealing with a situation like Pharaoh getting moved to sub for Priesta, I'm generally okay with that, because 100 Thieves has to make moves to just do anything, I think personally, in the Pro League in the first couple of weeks until the roster locks open up in the beginning of March. Keep that in mind. Beginning of March, rosters open up for drops and ads, which will further exacerbate our current situation. But then you're dealing with this more recent one with Spoof getting moved from UIU's main roster to the substitute spot, while Methods joins in as the sub and then gets put onto the main roster. And of course, if you missed Spoof's tweet, it was a little bit heartbreaking to hear, just simply because the guy has been putting in a lot of work. And in my honest opinion, I don't think he was by far at all any of the problems that UIU was having. Granted, we didn't see a lot of them on stream, but numbers-wise, his numbers are up there. Of course, Methods is a great player, but here's the biggest cause for concern that I have, and why this semantically feels strange. The rosters are locked right now. They're locked. You can't add or drop anybody, technically, but you have to fill a substitute spot, which none of the teams had a substitute going into the Pro League qualifier, so I get that you need to bring somebody in to fulfill that rule set. But I would have liked to have seen these people coming in as subs to just stay as the sub spot in case something like dramatic would have happened with a starting five, because then you would be fulfilling the roster lock prophecy of the team that you play with the qualifiers is your Pro League team. But with all these swaps already happening, with Methods getting onto the main roster, Priesta getting onto the main roster, it just kind of seems like that's going to eventually be, when the rosters open up in March, that a full roster that deserved to be there because they earned their spot is going to get bought out by FaZe or G2, and all of these players that are on loan right now to 100 Thieves, for instance, in the FaZe situation, are going to just be replacing a full team. The FaZe team did not make qualifiers. They did not make the Pro League. It's going to feel really bad for these players, or potentially even full teams, to be completely dropped away just to be in a spot because FaZe has the money and they have these teams on contract. That just doesn't seem right to me. I get that you have to fulfill the whole franchising thing. You need to have teams like, or organizations rather, like FaZe and G2 there. But, I mean, hey, like, I don't know. It's just the legalities of it and the semantics of this whole roster lock, but not roster lock, has made this whole middle ground period between the Pro League starting and, of course, post PLQ feel really strange, and it's only going to get worse, I fear, as we get closer to Fort Worth. But that's a little bit off of my little soapbox for now. I want to go through all of the substitutes that have come forward for all the teams that we did not have previously. Of course, we already talked about Spoof getting moved to the substitute spot for UIU, Methods joining in with the team, but I want to talk about the Heretics. We talked about in our last video that they would probably end up picking somebody from Vodafone Giants or Movistar Riders. It would actually be a former member of Vodafone Giants, not one that played at the PLQ though. Legend will be joining the Heretics as their substitute. So no stat lines on him, but he will be the sixth man there. Most of you already know about Zuma and him getting added into the Optic Gaming roster as a substitute. And just in case you were curious, because this all happened with the Methods situation just behind it, this is what Scump had to say about Zuma joining the team.
But for our team, Tommy is there if, like, worst case, something happens and we need someone to play. Like, something actually happens to someone on the team, like they physically can't play. That is why Tommy is there. We're not replacing anyone. He's not taking anyone's spot. He's there just in case.
Then beyond that, of course, most of you have already heard the news. Gen G will be entering the scene. We rumored it last time in our last video about Spacely's team potentially getting picked up by Gen G. It has been solid and confirmed that they will be represented by the Korean organization. Again, one of the more wealthy organizations in esports, actually. So it's kind of nice to see them represented in the Call of Duty World League. A little bit further up, Sender, who was coaching for Enigma 6, has now been listed as a coach and a sub both. And then interesting enough, and we talked about this when we did our first top 15. I didn't include any Australian players in my top 15 because I just didn't see a world where someone would actually pay for an Australian player to come all the way out to be a substitute. Luca, though, who we talked about at length because he said he was done playing completely, he's actually gone from Mindfreak, and now he is the 6th man player for Gen G, formerly, of course, Team Space, the Spacely squad. So interesting to see. I'm going to keep my eye on that one because I'm interested to see if he's actually going to move over to the States to be a little bit closer. I think if he does that, he definitely has the potential to be on a main roster somewhere, sometime within the next year, potentially. So who knows? There could be potential for a 6th man actually getting subbed into a main roster from Australia in Luca because he is such a solid player. But before we wrap, I wanted to just go one more time through all of the substitutions that we know of so far. Just about every team has one, at least at this point, with a couple of exceptions with some rumors that are also floating around. So Optic, we already mentioned, has Zuma. 100 Thieves has picked up Priesta into the main roster, so Farah will technically be their substitute. Envy will be using their coach Bevels as their substitute, as well as, you know, Sender, as we mentioned, from Enigma 6. Splice has picked up Happy, that he was formerly on the Orlando Reapers. We didn't mention him much previously, just kind of in passing, so there is that official kind of announcement, I guess you can say, for that. Methods gets picked up by UYU to join the main roster. Spoofs will then be dropped over to the substitute role. Shocks, again from Mindfreak, will be picked up by Red Reserve. Evil Geniuses has picked up God RX as their substitute. Reciprocity was the team that locked in Team Sween's Dylan. Interesting to see if he's also going to make the move to the team house in Vegas with the rest of those guys. Midnight, strangely enough, and kind of by my surprise, picked up Pander. I thought there was a lot of other players, especially actually in the Pittsburgh Knights, that could have fit that role a little bit better. Denial, of course, formerly Overtime Esports, the French squads, has picked up a player named Stan. Accelerate Gaming, I don't think we mentioned this much at all, picked up Robbie B from Nation of Power, who actually had a pretty solid performance throughout. It just unfortunately played for Nation of Power. And then you saw Heretics, as we mentioned today. Legend got picked up by them from the free agency market. And then a couple of rumors that are still floating around. Oh, we were talking about Gen G and Luca, but Celium, rumored to potentially be going to EU United. It would make sense considering that he was formerly an EU cadet, but kind of leaves the question mark with, like, what about Simp? Do you take Simp? Do you take Celium? Kind of a back and forth. And then Luminosity, again, we rumored this a while back that Ricky was coaching for them. He's now being listed as potentially the sub as well as potentially the coach for Luminosity. So there is all those, some of those being rumors, mostly the Ricky and the Celium situation. But it's at least enough to report on. I want to go over to what the divisions again look like in case you're not familiar with the divisions. Here is Division A for you. Gosh, these graphics, right? Optic, Luminosity, Midnight, Evil Geniuses, UYU, Reciprocity, Gen G, and Red Reserve. All of our first week games actually will be played by Division A teams. I don't know if it's going to be 2 weeks like they did last year or just a week each, but for now it's just Division A. Division B, United, Splice, Team Envy, Enigma 6, 100 Thieves, Heretics, Accelerate, and Denial are your teams there. And of course, there is your schedule for you. Starting off Monday the 4th, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, Red Reserve and Reciprocity. We saw this matchup once before, and it was not exactly what we expected. Both teams looked a little shaky. Now, as it matters towards the standings, we'll see. Take a look to see how the two former EU teams would battle up against one another. And then Optic taking on Midnight. This is a very appropriate start, I think, to week one, simply because we did see these two teams play at the CMG Pro Down. Not really convincing as far as how it goes because online COD, although Midnight was able to take at least a map off of Optic Gaming. So big test, I would say, for both teams out the gate. Optic, I think you need to win this one if you want to be established as the best team in Division A. Midnight Esports, if you were able to take down Optic, where do you stand in the power rankings afterwards? Did I say power rankings? And Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you see the games listed there. We've got 3 games at least. Oh, actually, we've got 4 games all throughout the rest of that time. So that's going to be a lot of fun to break things down for you guys. I'm going to try to do, I'm not actually sure. I kind of want to get your guys' opinion. Would you guys rather have me do nightly recaps of every single game that happens like we did during the LAN events? Or would you rather have me just do like every 2 days, like recap Monday and Tuesday, and then recap one day and Thursday later on in the week? It's up to you guys. What would you rather see? If they're individual days, they'll probably be pretty quick hit videos because I don't want to, I mean, I don't want to just BS for the entirety of it. I want to make sure you guys get your information. If they are double days, I like that kind of the double day recap. I'm already thinking about things in my head with that one. But if you do enjoy that, let me know. Besides that, tomorrow or the day after, not sure which, but before the end of the weekend, I will have my power rankings video up for you guys, going through all 16 teams and where I have them personally listed. I'm sure most of you will not like some of the things that I had to say about some of the teams, but I'll be keeping track of stats and things throughout the season, and I'll be updating those weekly, probably by the end of the weekend as we go into a new week. So it'll be around this time each week. Hope you guys enjoyed. That's been my little breakdown of all the substitute roles, as well as what the divisions look like with our current first schedule. Hopefully you guys will be in the chat. Hopefully I'll see you there. And if you like the video, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification button to get messages on when my videos come back live for you. And if you want to join us actually on my Discord and talk about the games as they come, I'm going to leave that as well down in the social links below. Feel free. We've got a couple people that talk, and we just kind of have a good time talking about the games and some surprises, stuff of the nature, and maybe a little bit of betting. I'm just gonna say that, you know, it is what it is. If you want to join in the conversation, you're more than welcome. I've been Fancy Shift, was cast in the collegiate Call of Duty scene earlier tonight. Friday night fights will be happening every Friday night at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern. You don't want to miss that one. Two of the best teams in the CCL going up against each other. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should look up the College COD League, both on Twitter and stuff like that, and find out what I mean. I'll do more breakdowns of that for you guys later. But until next time, I gotta get out of here. Hope you have a good one. Keep holding it down. Later. Bye.